In this video, we're going to look at the random student picker. This is one which allows you to select a student at random in your class for whatever activity you want to be doing this. Now, it may well be that you want to do pause, pounce, bounce. It might be that you want to sort of randomly choose children for an activity. Sometimes you want to do that manually yourself because you know who you want to actually ask and have sort of respond to a question that you might have. But sometimes it's nice to sort of use technology to do that. Many times in my class, I had students say, "Sir, you always pick on me." Well, if you leave it to the technology to do that job for you, then obviously that's going to be really useful. To get into the random student picker selection, simply on your monitor student machines field here, just go into here. Nice and easy, so you can see which students are being picked from here. You don't have to do it from here, but you can. I like to do it from the monitoring student machines thing here because I can't see their screens so easily. Go to the select option just here. You can choose how many students you want to pick. I've only got 2 students in this demonstration class, so I'll leave it on just 1 student. There are some other options, so you can choose to have a sound played. You can choose logged in, logged out, so forth and so on. Other options to sort of select here. When you're ready to move forwards, simply go on to random students and click onto there. And then it will flop backwards and forwards with some markers on the screen, and it will choose a student. Okay, and the student that was chosen in this case was Bob Smith. So let's just repeat that again. So we simply go random students. It pops the question marks on their screens, and then boom, it chooses the students. And this time it's this one here with Amanjeet Q&A. You have been randomly selected. And that is how you use the random student selection tool in NetSupport School. I'm going to be giving you a walkthrough of the Q&A mode or the question and answer modes within NetSupport School, which can allow teachers to make their lessons a little bit more competitive and engaging by using what we use and what we refer to as gamifying the lesson. So within the Q&A mode, I can select here. I've got some options at the top, which allows me to choose what question I'm going to send my students, and also some settings around whether they get rewards, whether it bounces to other students if somebody gets it wrong, and so forth and so on. We also have the option to include an audio sound, which just makes a couple of sound effects come out of the student devices so that they know they've been selected, or they're the ones that have been buzzed in for the question. So, as the teacher up here, you've got your question types, and there are several to pick from. The first one we're going to look at is the first to answer. So, students are asked a question, and it's very similar to the popular game Buzz, where one of them will buzz in, and the quickest one gets selected to then answer the question. Now, as the teacher, I can give them some thinking time. If it's perhaps a maths lesson and requires some calculation, we can give them, say, 10-20 seconds to think about it. And then we've got time to answer the question. So the students will all get an option to buzz after their 25 seconds. If they get it correct, they can earn a star, which you can see in the top left of their thumbnails, which is also displayed on the student screens. If they were to get it wrong, we can have the option that it will automatically bounce to the next student, so it moves on, and you can choose if you want that to continue bouncing to every student until somebody gets it right. Now, in the options here, I do have the ability to adjust whether students get a reward for getting a question correct. If a student gets a question correct, they are then excluded from further questions to give the rest of the class a chance to answer a question themselves. You can also have the students lose a reward if they get it answered incorrectly, and also, if they're incorrect, they will be locked out from further questions as well. You can display a results screen for your students' questions, and this is really good because it shows who's earned the most points. You can, however, define that it's only the top 3 or maybe the 5 students only showing the top results, because we may not want to show the students that got the lowest scores. So now in here I can select OK, and I'm going to verbally ask the questions to the students, and I'm going to hit go. And now on the students' devices, they will see that there is a thinking time countdown. Once that countdown is completed, the think button will change to answer. I should have done it less than 25 seconds, and now when it's completed, they will have the option to answer. So I've buzzed in as one student, and you can see that Matt Smith, the student, was the first one to buzz. So now he's going to verbally give me his answer, and if he's incorrect, it's now bounced to Bob, and now Bob can answer. He gets it correct. So he's now earned a star and he's excluded from further questions moving forwards. And then we can press stop. So that is the first to answer. Next we can do enter and answer. And again we can do the thinking time, which I'll make a bit shorter this time. We can also give them a time limit to enter the same options as before about earning rewards or bouncing. And then we press OK. And all the students will then answer this question. So I'm going to again verbally ask them a question. What is 10 times 9? The answer being 90. Let's hope you get that right. Now you can hide the answer because if you're using a projector or smartboard, you don't want students to see you typing in the answer. There you can also specify whether it's a case sensitive match as well. So if not, we can allow for slight margin of error on the spelling, whether it's maybe like the name of a capital city that they're just slightly spelling wrong. So now we can press go. All the students on their devices have their thinking time yet again. And at this point now they've got the ability to enter the answer into the taskbar, into the text box even, and you can see if they get it correct or not. The green shows that Matt got it correct and Bob got it wrong, and again a star can be earned there, and you can see the scores of the students. Next up, we have got a potluck or random selection, and this will essentially allow me to pick one or multiple students at random and ask them a question. So there's no favoritism, there's no preference. We are just randomly selecting people or multiples. So I can then do that, and it's going to bounce between the students, and I'm going to ask them a question, and if they get it right, they get an answer as before, a star as before. Moving on. We do have the ability similar to the first to answer and entering answer, and we can do them as team-based questions. Now, as an example, I've got a group up here for additional support. So one of my students is an additional support versus the whole classroom. Now, this actually allows you to potentially set up other groups like Team A and Team B. And therefore, when we do team first to answer, you've got the option in there, not in there. You've got the option, okay, then do randomly assign team. And so you can split your class into two, maybe 3 teams at random. You can allow students to select their own teams by separating the different team names with a comma. And you can also use current groups. If you've got multiple groups with a student specified in them already, like Team A and A Team B, it will allow you to use your existing groups in there. So then we can now run our first to answer, select OK and select OK in there, and it's going to show us the team summary. And then we go. So we're now asking a question, and the students are technically in Team 1 and Team 2. Let's see, we've only got 2 students, but when you've got a classroom full of 30, it's a lot easier to see that visibly. And then somebody can answer. Somebody can answer first and second. They got it correct, so their team get the point. You can actually see the star listed against the team name at the top as well. And then we can go on to the next round and ask a further question to that. Very similar again. We can do the team-based enter and answer, which works very much the same way again. Assigning randomly teams, letting them choose or even keep the current teams. And you can choose whether you want to reset the points from the previous round that we've just done, or whether we can keep the current teams and continue. Now, on the enter and answer basis, instead of the verbal questions and response basis, there are the settings modules there and the volume. Again, we've already covered those. And that is the Q&A module, essentially. And you can see on the student screen how many stars they have earned throughout the quiz. I'm going to be showing you the student survey tool in NetSupport School, which is a great tool for your teachers to be able to gauge student feedback, ask questions, and prompt class discussion. Now, by selecting my survey tool down here, I can see my students in my classroom. I've got the ability to set some questions and push them out to the students. So by selecting here, this allows me to manage the different survey questions that I can send them. It could be something like, what is the square root of 144 in a maths lesson? And you can get the answers, different answers for them. For example, it could be a science lesson. It could also be used as a wellbeing tool. So at the beginning of a lesson, teachers can ask the class, how are you today? And engage students in a conversation. The feedback from their students, getting a general feeling for the day. If any students acknowledge that they're having a bad day, that's useful knowledge at the start of a lesson to understand that students might not be having the best start to the day or performing to their best, so you can help them in your role as a tutor. So in here, I can manage and I can create custom responses. I can add a new question in here, type it in. What is your favourite subject at school? And in the responses, we can do custom responses. So I could say maths, English, science, PE, add that, and now we've got a question in there to use at our disposal. So from here, I can then select on the drop down which question I would like to share to my students. So I'm going to have, how are you today? It's down here as well. So you can type it in down in the bottom section, and I'm going to issue that out to all my students. And as you see on their screens, they've got the ability to say okay, good and bad. Now that I've selected those answers, we're going to see down here the results of how our students answered the survey. This is really useful for us to see who's answered and what way and what student it was. Now this question I've used is here as a wellbeing tool, but it could be a way to understand if any students need any additional support or so forth and so on. You could even use it as a confidence checker. And if anybody isn't feeling too confident on a topic that you've just explained, you could then use this to put them into an additional support group. So I've got a student here in an additional support group, and that will allow me to support that student remotely with sharing my screen, launching the right resources to help them and guide them through the lesson. Additionally, with our students, where it shows our survey results, there is the ability to automatically group students by their responses. So again, where you've got a group of students that are confident and a group of students that aren't confident, we can automatically group them together, and now you've got a way of directly supporting that group of students based upon their self-selected confidence level. Depending on the question that you've asked your students, you can choose to show them the results, and those will appear in a pie chart format for the students to see. Depending on what the question is, it may be an opportunity to spark a class discussion. You could, for example, ask student A, why did you answer, and justify your answer, and then student B, who answered something else, could ask them why they feel differently, and this just prompts a little bit more engagement in the lesson. So, now I've finished that, I've got a survey list up here, and I can store and load in surveys from a list in the future. This is really useful in schools because it allows teachers to share survey questions that they're using, not having to duplicate and replicate additional workload. You can create one long list, and then you can issue that out to everybody else who may need those as well. So in this video, we're going to have a look at the feedback and well-being options. Previously, earlier in the video, you'll have seen how you do feedback and well-being checks in easy mode, but it's done slightly differently inside the more advanced console. You'll notice we have the feedback and well-being tab up here, and click onto there and you get a brand new ribbon which gives you the option to do the same things as you've done before, basically. So if you were to hit the feedback and well-being option there, that request feedback or check students' well-being. So click onto here, and then you get the same window as you'd seen previously. So you can ask students a question, which is optional, or you can just ask them verbally in the class. You choose the option that you want in terms of the response. You can anonymize the results here should you want to as well. Pick the one you want, hit OK, and then as before, the students get their things appear on the screen. You can see that having appeared on the student screens here. They choose their response, and on our screen we then see what those responses are. Anonymized is turned on, so we don't know who has said what. Okay, remember we can view that as a chart or as a list like so. We can choose to save that or print it if we want to, or if it's done, then it could be a simple close button. Remember, we can use this for feedback as well as well-being checks. So, in the earlier example, we talked about ranking confidence with topics. So, how confident 1 to 5 are you, with 5 being I'm really confident and 1 being not that confident. On the topic of photosynthesis, students could then self-select, and that'll give you a good temperature test on all of that. Okay, so that's how you do the feedback and well-being options inside NetSupport School. There are some other options for sending stickers to students as well. So if I just select this student here, and I can send a sticker to that student which represents how happy I am with them, and it could be a whole other bunch of reasons. There's lots of different stickers to choose from. do the send sticker, and that sticker then appears on their screen, and it could be, a nice response, a little visual note to help your pupils know you're checking in on them, and also some little visual feedback that you get within their work. And what you'll notice is that those different stickers not only appear as a little pop up on the screen, see nice and large, it then also appears on the student toolbar just up here that you can see just here. So there you go. We've got the option to give rewards and things as well for students here in the feedback and wellbeing section. You can just choose the students and then go give reward, and that does a similar sort of thing to the stickers. You can see the award has gone on to this student screen, and just like you saw with the sticker going here, the stars then go over to here. Okay, you can also choose to remove rewards and remove all rewards and clear things and go back to ground zero as well, so forth and so on. But that's the feedback and wellbeing options inside NetSupport School.